Good day, everyone. Last year we were able to bring you a ton of interviews from Spartan Games. This time around will be no different. I will track them all down if it's the last thing I do. I've already spoken to a ton of athletes from Spartan Games 2, or is it Spartan Games Season 2? Or is it Spartan Games 2.0? I've seen it referred to as all of the above. I am on a mission to get them online and talk about their experience. Of course, we cannot share the results. That will be when the show comes out early next year. But I've already spoken with 3 athletes. The first one is Corinna Coffin. Let's get to her experience. I think we caught her still there. I think she's still in the damn, they put her in a cabinet. So let's get to it. Away we go. So we're here with Corinna, fresh off Spartan Games Season 2. Corinna, I was thinking to announce you, how many the titles you have. So you're a TMX winner, TMX backer-upper, you're a CrossFit Games team athlete. You won countless Battle Frogs, right? Countless Battle Frog podiums.
Just all the Battle Frogs. I'm just kidding. I was a lot of second places behind Lindsay, but yeah.
Right. Well, listen, it's tough when you come in behind when you're that's the era you grew up. If you come in behind the GOAT, what are you going to do?
I know. That's right.
Now, I'm going to make a reference that you're not going to get, but that many people will get. It's like in the 70s, if you were a pretty good team, you're going to get beat by the Steelers. It doesn't matter. Like the Oilers lost a lot of championship games. If the Steelers didn't exist, the Oilers got a bunch of Super Bowl titles. So what are you going to do?
What are you going to do? You just got to roll with it. Take it on the chin.
Right? So it looks like, and we know we can't talk about results, but it definitely had a very different vibe from Spartan Games Season 1. Heavy on the military this year, it appeared.
Yes, which was I welcomed. I thought that was really a nice addition and a nice interweaving of sponsorship. I mean, in some ways, I think it ruffled some feathers, but it was really nice to have, I thought, a military component to it.
Well, you do have a spouse in the military.
I do.
So I bet he was excited for you.
Yeah, I think there were a lot of things that I kind of had a little bit of an upper hand in, maybe, or I was familiar with because of having somewhat of a training oriented style toward military in the past several months to a year. So I think I was more familiar with some of those things than some of the other ladies.
Well, when I first saw you pick up the Rescue Randy, when I saw you put him down, I thought it was a real person.
It was a real person.
Okay, that's what I thought.
Did you not see my story after that where I picked him up?
Well, it looked like a real person to me, but then other people were like, it's not a real person. Then when I saw you pick him up, it looked like a doll again, or it looked like a mannequin again.
He was playing dead or injured, and I will say he did a great job playing that way, which made it very challenging.
Okay, then I'm fucking right. People were like, that's Rescue Randy. I'm like, that's a real person.
It's a real person.
Okay. So I was right the first time. Always trust your instincts.
That's right.
I was right. You can check
the guys had a big boy. Like I think he was 220 without a weight vest, and then he had a weight vest on. And then our guy was like 200 pounds, and he had a 15-pound weight vest. So he was a big boy, and not everyone carried Rescue Randy like I did. So you can imagine that would have been a much more challenging drag.
So if they couldn't pick him up, they had to drag him. Didn't that hurt?
Yeah. Oh yeah. They volunteered for it. They were awesome. The Air Force Special Warfare personnel, they were really awesome, and they were great sports. And at first we were gonna have a dummy, and then they were like, no, why don't they just drag us? So they they got a little scratched up, but it was fun.
Did you know you could carry a 200-pound human?
Yeah, carry my husband sometimes. I mean, we practice that for those fireman carries, and my brother taught me how to do that a while ago, so I'd done that with him plenty of times and learned the technique. I don't know actually that I've done that with Taylor, because he is a really big boy, but I practiced a lot before that event. Those guys were just lying dead on the ground, and I was just like, can I practice? And it was like it was like 50-50 getting it, because getting them to come up to a stand and then
That's the
come
hardest
underneath them
part, right?
was really hard. And then having the weight vests on made it obviously 15 pounds harder on both sides. So
So you were wearing the vest as well.
we wore the vest the entire time.
Okay, there was something I didn't see until just now on Yancey's feed. There was a shot putting big rocks.
No, that was, we had like an hour of downtime when we got there. We were waiting for production or something. And then all the boys were like Hunter and Ryan, Kent and VJ and Mac were just doing these. They were just doing that in the parking lot. So
Okay, that wasn't a real event.
no, not not a real.
Okay.
The D
I
balls was a real event, and that was
well, I
actually
well, clearly that was a real event.
yeah.
So, um, it was as many in a what was the actual workout?
So it's three different weights of D balls. The men's or the women's was 50 pounds, 70 pounds, 100 pounds, and the men's was 70, 100, and 150. And everyone started with so on the girls' side, we had all 8 of us, and we did as many D balls over the shoulder in a minute with the 50. The top 4 girls would move forward into the 70-pound round, and the bottom 4 they're out. You got a 3-minute rest between the rounds. So then the 4 moved on at 70 pounds. And then from there, the top 2 girls moved forward to the final round with the 100 pounds. So 3-minute
So,
rest between each of those 1-minute efforts.
right. So, last year, it seemed to favor the OCR athletes, and this year it seemed to be much more even. Like there was only one Spartan cross, right? Last year
Yeah.
they did 2 or 3, right?
Yeah.
They did a half marathon of running instead of 4 hours of running, right?
Yeah.
You did like a 2 hour bike instead of a 5 hour bike thing.
Yeah. Yeah, it was about 2 hours. I I would have liked to have seen more strength oriented. I mean, and again, like that's me because I'm more of a strength person. But I did feel that being the better runner or having better endurance just overall in the in running specifically, like day 2 was a lot of running. The Spartan Cross this year, I will say that was one event that I was excited about doing again, and I was a little bit disappointed in how in the obstacles, because it was basically just Spartan obstacles. And there was no, like, none of them were really high skill. It was like an easy rig, um, barbed wire crawl, the dunk, like the rolling mud, the Herc hoist that was kind of light, and a wall. And so, like, it wasn't like last year where, like, when you cross the finish line, your hand, like, our grip was so shot that first day, and our arms were so pumped, and it was like, oh my gosh, am I gonna make it through all these
So
obstacles?
no Hercoist, no rope climb.
Oh, sorry, there was a Hercoist. Yeah, I said Hercoist, and then there
Okay.
was a rope climb. So yeah, but I mean, like, you're not gonna fail any of those things. Like, I think very few people failed those had any failure.
I mean, from first glance, and I haven't written them all down, although I did record all of Spartan stories, so I can go back and kind of break it down. Grant was great, by the way. We loved watching.
Oh yeah, he's awesome.
He did awesome. So that first day, there was a Deca heavy, right?
Uh-huh.
That's weight.
Yeah.
Got the med balls, that's weight,
Yeah.
right? Wrestling, that's strong people,
Mm-hmm.
maybe.
Sure.
No, you don't think so? You don't think
No,
that
yeah,
favors?
yeah, yeah.
I'm
I'm
just
with you
trying to
there.
figure. Like it seemed to me like there was a lot of that stuff, and
Well,
then
hold on. But day 1 and 2, you take 1 and 2, the pass test, the the way the points worked for the military, that was the pull-ups, push-ups, sit-ups. You get a point for each one of those. But then for the running and the swim, for every 2 seconds you came under the 10-20 time cap for the mile-and-a-half run, you get a point. And then for the swim, every 5 seconds you got under, was it 14? I don't know if the cap was 14 or 15, you get a point. So, like, even if you didn't do super hot in the pull-ups, push-ups, sit-ups, like, you could, if you were a fast runner and swimmer, like, you get a lot of points back that way.
well, Corinna, You're a very fit athlete.
Thanks, Matt.
When they were like, okay, it's fucking freezing out, go swim. So I want to break this down for people. There was a
It was
certain
a terrible weather day. Like,
no, no, I felt for you guys so bad. And the next day it looked like sunny and people were in shorts. And I was like, I wish, but it's always colder in the water, close to the water, blah, blah, blah. But maybe people don't know this. It was an overwater swim. And then there was a underwater swim that you had to stay underwater for what, 25 seconds? Something really hard.
it was a 25, so it was like a 25-meter underwater, but because we were all in wetsuits, we weren't really like totally submerged. We were more swimming on the surface, but our head had to be pretty much underwater. But I tell you what, when we walked out, we had to do the underwater first, and we walked out to do that. And it was a pretty shallow lake, so I mean, you could stand, but you weren't like you could stand up there. Like if you do stand up during the swim, which I did, because the current was crazy, and I got hit by this huge wave in the mouth and like took on so much water and just caught like I just came up sputtering, and I'm so glad I was able to stand and I think a lot of people stood at one point or another to like catch their breath. The cold was like almost numbing. My arms were it was so hard and I'm like a pretty decent swimmer. I would consider myself that. And like my arms, just because it was so cold, it was so hard to move them. So I stood up occasionally to like just catch my breath and to like to kind of try to give my body like a second of rest. And it took time, but like it was so cold. And we did the underwater first, and the boys came back and they were like, make sure you submerge before you do your first underwater, because it will shock the
The
shit out
shock.
of you.
Right,
And I
right.
went under like right like as we were standing over there, and I was like, oh my god, like the amount of freak out in my head when I did that was like, there's no way. And at this point we've done pull-ups, push-ups, sit-ups, mile-and-a-half run, and like you're 4 out of the 6 completed, and if you don't get one of the underwaters, like your score does not count. So there was so much on the line with that event. And for me, like when I went underwater that first time, I was like, I like I don't think this is happening. Like there's no way. I was panicked. Um like just putting your fit, like it was, oh, you couldn't see anything, and it was just so mind-numbing cold. So that was really intense. That moment was really intense. And they wanted you to finish, like if you got cut or if you didn't make it, like let's say you didn't make one of the underwaters, like in this, and to the Air Force's credit, like they're like, we still have guys, even if you fail like the first event, like you have to go through the rest of it. And like that's kind of like, because they want you to get better at it. And so everyone, there were plenty of fails, and people just did all of it. And so the thought of like swimming a 500 when you don't have to, when you for 0 points,
Right.
um I think that rubbed some people wrong, but or like wasn't the most embraced aspect of the event. But
Right.
I thought it was kind of cool that they did that. So,
Yeah,
and
my
they kept those standards strict, and in some ways it was tough because that was the first day of competition. So if you get a whopping 0 on day 1, like that's a big setback for the week. So in like some ways I didn't love that, but in other ways it was like, it's cutthroat, and like you got to meet a standard, and you have to kind of respect that.
Yeah, it's interesting because we haven't even talked about like the shooting yet. And this, there's this thing like athletics, and what you guys were doing are these like fitness tests, right? And so it does measure something, and I'm really curious how the people are going to take it. I'm being very open-minded because I remember watching all the behind the scenes, and I had a lot of criticism. And then the show came out, and the show came out pretty great, right?
Hmm.
There was some things we picked on, drone noises, etc. But overall, considering it's Spartan's first time, and they were trying to sort of make this like reality show part, they realized that maybe wasn't a good idea. Like all in all, the first season I think is really good.
Yeah.
So I'm really curious to see, like, I've never touched it. Like, not true. I've shot a gun like twice in my life, right?
Yeah.
I'm not a gun guy, right?
Yeah.
And so I think a couple people posted that. Like, it's one thing to like, hey, I've never been on a trail bike. It's another thing like I've never touched a gun before. It's a very
Mhm.
different thing. So, however, it is becoming also like the tactical games is a thing, and we've
Yeah.
seen the Kempsons do it, and Hepner's about to try it. CrossFit Games top 5 athlete, and so it's interesting that these like fitness tests are becoming part of athletics.
Yeah, I thought, and like I thought that was really cool. I think there were a handful of people who were well versed in shooting. But it was cool because I'm kind of fall in the middle. Like I've been to the shooting range several times with my brothers and my husband, but like that's not something I don't have a ton of practice with it. And so like learning, we had a very specific, like we had a gun demo. The guys from the range came the night before, got it. We could practice a little bit with just dry fire stuff and the loading protocol and everything. But it was cool to see, and it was for every miss we ended up shooting 29 shots over the course of like that were mandatory over the course of the event yesterday. And there's a 10-second penalty for every miss. So like it definitely and they wanted to weigh that component heavier, and make it really like, hey, you have to, I mean, getting your heart rate down low enough to shoot was hard. And but it was really cool to see some of the people who've never really shot before actually do pretty well. So, and I think we all loved that event. Like it took a long ass time because we left at like 6:15 down the mountain. It was an hour and a half away. We had to go back up the mountain afterwards. And the whole production there like took a long time. We didn't get back till like 3 o'clock, almost 4 o'clock. But I think that was a highlight of pretty much everyone. Like everyone walked away like being like, wow, that was so cool. So I loved that they added like that element in there, and added some high skill under, with high heart rate, and then the ruck at the end too. Like it was a
Right.
steep ruck. That was a 1 mile, half mile up with, the girls are pretty much wearing 50 pounds and the guys are wearing 70. So I really like that event. And I think that was well received despite the initial like fear of guns or like shyness toward them with shooting and whatnot. It was very safe and well demonstrated.
No, I'm sure those guys definitely made sure of all that. I think I would, even though it's a very different, quote unquote, more dangerous thing, I kind of liken it to the wrestling. You guys at first were like, holy shit. And then afterwards, everyone was like, oh my God, that was amazing. Let's do it again.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. That's how it was received. And the wrestling this year too, for some of those newer folks that were like, wow, that was actually so much fun, or like I can't wait to see how that turns out. Like those were some fun matchups.
Did it feel overall, because it was the second one, did it feel kind of more organized, more just like better, I guess, than
It
season
did.
one?
And of course, like it's still so new, so there's plenty of things that could have, it's like, wow, that could have been thought out a bit better. This could have been streamlined a bit better organized, or maybe did they really think of this? Like for the wrestling, personally, I thought the single elimination kind of sucked because,
Right.
oh, so you get 8 girls and then 4 of them are out on the first round, and you're gonna and then that's that. Like the way they drew, like we just had random drawings. So like, if let's just say for example, Meg and I were the best two. Well, we drew against each other, and one of us is gonna be out in the first round. And
Yeah,
like
that definitely seems like a double elimination makes more sense.
totally. So I was really I was kind of upset about that. I was like, well, why
I mean,
wouldn't we just take
that happened to Atkins last year, remember?
well, last year we had a losers bracket.
Right, but I think Atkins drew, Kurt the first round,
Yeah.
by the way. By the way, Kurt was at my Spartan race last weekend in Georgia. It was
Oh,
like
really?
so
Oh,
random. I'm like, is that Kurt? Like, it's just ironic. It's the same weekend that you guys are doing Spartan Games. And he was
oh,
just sitting there. And I was like, what's up, dude? Like, he lives here. I had no idea.
oh, wow. I didn't know he lived by you either, but
No,
that's
you did.
fun. Yeah. No, it really was. I mean, it was cool that we got to do the drawing. So it was like, hey, this isn't biased. And it's funny for the girls, like the drawings were kind of perfect. It was like, wow, that would be a really good matchup. Like everyone kind of had like the perfect matchup,
Right.
but like I said, it was sucky that like some of those matchups could have been the championship one. And so
Right.
there's a lot, and like to get a zero in that event when really like you could have been a second place person. It's like,
It's a big
oh
deal.
yeah, like that. I mean, I was so nervous for the wrestling. I woke up early and my heart was just beat. I was just thinking about it. I'm trying to figure out like, what's my game plan? What's my strategy? Do I remember anything my brother and my husband taught me? Like, and there was a lot on the line for sure.
Does she outweigh you by a lot or no?
We talked about that. She's like 20 pounds heavier than me. So yeah.
That's a difference.
Yeah, it's a difference. She's a boss. She's a boss lady. Super super awesome though. Like we definitely got down in the wrestling pit, but it was fun. We had laughs. Everyone was good sports. So.
Will there be any Corinna crying by a tree with somebody awkwardly standing by this year?
There are no tears from me on this week. So
Will there be some tears, men or women? You don't have to say who.
No, I don't think there were. Doesn't mean there wasn't drama or like highs and lows. There was obviously some of that. You can imagine it was only from the guy's side, but I don't even know if that's going to be on camera. It's just a lot of talking. Like
Hunter will tell me. Trust me, Hunter will tell me.
I'm sure. I'll just let him divulge whatever.
Hunter doesn't really like necessarily like that NDA thing for Hunter is like, eh.
Yeah.
he'll probably like, I'll probably get in trouble for saying this, and then he'll say it.
As long as he prefaces it with that.
Right. But no buckets throwing, right? No buckets.
No. Everyone were pretty much great sports. We had a good group of athletes, and it was fun to meet everyone.
So what did you do to prepare for this event? I know they didn't tell you guys too much in advance. Like, when did you know for sure it was happening?
I was invited a month out. I didn't do anything to prepare for it. I didn't do anything different. I just kept doing what I was doing. I was like a little bit smarter with my running training before, and I guess I probably upped my running a little bit, my like slow, long distance running, and just made sure my legs were fresh beforehand. But it's just not enough time I was already swimming once a week. I was doing obstacle courses on the weekends on the military base. I was doing a lot of beach running, doing a lot of weighted vest runs. I was doing strength training. So mountain biking. So, oh man, the mountain biking. we had so much fun, but I had a very eventful mountain bike. Let's just say that. I'm not really sure if I'm supposed to, like, basically, if you can, this is my mountain bike. This is the state of my mountain bike. As you can see,
there's no seat.
There's no seat. So that was a very exciting mountain biking race for me.
When did it fall off?
We had 3 laps, and then the downhill, 3-mile laps. And in the second lap, it was coming loose. And at the end of the first lap, it was coming loose. And then it came off in the very beginning, toward the beginning of the second lap. So I rode standing up, clipped in. Thankfully, I had clips, but I did 3/4 of a lap, 2/3 of a lap with my bike seats shoved in my pants and standing up the entire time.
That does not sound fun.
Oh man, it was bad. I'm an idiot. I didn't tighten my seat screws after adjusting it at the base, and then I left my tool down at the base, and so it was a rookie move.
Did they attempt to convince you to come to Abu Dhabi?
There has been talk of that. I haven't received any like confirmation that that's happening or not. I guess all the athletes maybe were invited that were here, but it wasn't confirmed. So like, whatever. If I get the invite, it would be fun. I don't know that I would go, but I might go.
I would. I'm going. I'm looking at it like a once in a lifetime thing for me.
Sure. Yeah.
Like, when else am I going to go to Abu Dhabi?
Right.
Like, even if Spartan goes next year, like, I probably won't go again because it's just,
it's a big trip.
Well, for me to travel, you essentially lose, like, so it's a day to travel plus a day of time. So you've now lost 2 days. coming back, you get that day back, but essentially I'm gone 7 days to be there 3, or I'm gone 6 days to be there 3 is kind of how
Yeah.
it boils down. And so it's a lot. And
Yeah.
so I'm looking at it like, hey man, I don't know when I'll ever do this again. I'm going to get over there and, I'll do an open wave or whatever. And, of course I'll get all the interviews and stuff and it'll be fun, but
Right.
yeah.
Well, that's what I would do that too for just the experience of being able to travel there. I'm with you there.
Right.
But yeah, I don't know. I don't know that that's actually if that's happening or not. So I will TBD.
TBD. Well, it sounds like you've got a little thing in your throat that often athletes get after something as intense as the CrossFit Games or this, where you've just put everything out there. Are you worried? Are you gonna take some lozenges? What are you gonna do to take care of yourself?
Everyone's coughing. Like I have the least amount of cough, I feel like, of everyone here. So like if you could probably pick it up on the audio over the course of the week, but like since that day one too, it's just like a lot of all out efforts. Like yesterday the shooting was at like ground at like sea level. We drove a long ways down the mountain, and then for the 1 minute D-balls, we drove all the way back up, obviously, to back to our base camp. But then we drove we summited to the top of the mountain to do the D-balls because it looked cool. And so we went from like sea level to, I don't know, 8,000 feet, maybe 9,000. No, it was probably eight, somewhere in the eights, but to do these 1 minute all out efforts. So that definitely got my lungs. But the whole, I wasn't acclimated. I wasn't most of the athletes were coming straight from sea level. So there was that element that definitely contributed.
All right, that is going to do it. I've also spoken already with Ryan Atkins. I've also already spoken with Chris Rogloski. I will be continuing to hunt these people down and talk to them about their experience. I'm going to get Grant on the line, Grant McCartney, who is our behind-the-scenes guy, Island Ninja. I'm going to talk to everybody. I'm going to try to bring you one of these every single day for the next several days. So keep it locked right here. Love ya. Miss ya. Mean it. I got to run.